Hi guys, how's it going? It's Ben Nelson here again from Connected Fitness. Thank you so much for joining us over the last few weeks and for subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you haven't done so already, there's a little button right about here. Just click on that and you can subscribe and you'll get notifications as to when there's a new video posted. Today we are joined by Darran. Hello Darran.
Hi there, how are you?
Good. Darran is Managing Director at Northern Lights Event Hire. He is also Project Coordinator of the Mind Project. And he's an all-around upbeat guy, father of two, and here to discuss opportunity with us. Thank you for coming along, Darran. Tell us why you've chosen opportunity and what it is that you'd like to speak about today.
Perfect. Well, firstly, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited. And yes, I wanted to talk about opportunity because it's been a sort of key thing that I had been investigating for the last number of months. And I had asked myself the question, what is opportunity? 9 times out of 10, we overlook opportunity in our day-to-day lives because we are so consumed in what it is that we're doing, and because life is so fast-paced, we often miss opportunities that are right under our noses. So I had explored it a wee bit further when I had some time during the first lockdown, and sort of looked at why I hadn't taken opportunities throughout my life. And sort of tried to investigate a wee bit further and dig a bit deeper into my reasoning. And that probably boils back down to where I was at that point in time. I was working for an overseas property company in Belfast as their marketing manager, and it was 110 miles an hour every day. I was commuting up and down to Belfast, and that I was tunnel vision, so everything else around me sort of took a back seat, and I was missing out on these opportunities, as I had mentioned. So I then took some time to myself in the first lockdown to sort of reevaluate where I was in my life and to explore how I opened the door for these opportunities again. And it was probably through self-discovery. I'll talk about it a little later, but I had then developed this podcast called the Mind Podcast, which you had mentioned just at the start there. And through talking to other people about their journeys and their changes and some of the opportunities that they've had throughout their lives, it started to sculpt change within me. And I started to then investigate, read a bit more, talk to more and more people, sort of come out of my shell and move away from that regimented 9 to 5 scenario that I found myself in. So yeah, it was really then I started to really explore new opportunities as such, in a completely different way. So what I would try to do then is develop certain tools that would help me and guide me in seeking out these opportunities, which we'll touch on a wee bit later in our conversation. But yes, that's sort of the insight to our discussion. That's sort of the intro from my perspective. What do you think about opportunity?
It's a tricky one. You're talking to someone who is an entrepreneur and who has started a few businesses, and it's something that you're absolutely right. Sometimes you get your head so locked into your 9 to 5 and what your day is from the start, as mapped out by either what you had planned or what was previously planned for you, or what's expected of you, and you get so tunnel visioned in terms of what you look for, and it's a real struggle to then see what's around you when the only thing that you've got is what you've got planned for that day.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. So then I suppose that moves me on to the next sort of point that I feel valuable, which is our search for opportunities as individuals. And basically that comes about moving on from what we've just discussed there and having that sort of tunnel visioned approach where we're just getting up every morning, 9 to 5, working our jobs, coming home exhausted, and we're missing out on these opportunities that are going to benefit us in our lives and sort of sculpt us as individuals. So really, again, moving back to the change in my life, I really started to invest opportunities as an individual, and that was sort of taking an almost selfish approach because, and I don't mean selfish in a way that you're out to hurt or harm anyone, but selfish in yourself where you're you're looking for opportunities that are going to benefit you and get you to where you want to go, opportunities that are going to make you happy, as opposed to just looking for opportunities for, a particular reason, in the sense of, okay, if I get this job, it's going to pay more money, but you're likely going to go back into the same environment that you've just been in, where it's, fast paced. You're maybe just doing it because it's a necessity where you need to make money. So this is what I really started to explore, was what opportunities are out there for me as an individual. And that was through some self-discovery. As I touched on, the Mind podcast was a real eye-opener for me, because I actually got to speak to people at first hand with their own life experiences, how they've improved, how they've changed. And I started to implement some of these things into my own life, so that when I was going out there, I was looking for the right opportunities that suited me, as opposed to just going out looking for opportunity, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So basically then, it all boils back down to the mindset, and sort of what mindset you have, in the sense of, 1 year ago, I would have had quite a negative mindset. I was resenting getting up because I didn't want to go into work, and then that sort of closed off many doors for me, in seeking potential opportunities that would have benefited me, until I got to a point where, number one, I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing. Number two, I'd sort of lost passion and drive in it. And number three, it had become a necessity ultimately. And I was basically going to work in order to pay bills, to do things, and I'd sort of lost my sort of identity as an individual, until I flipped things on their head. And like I'd said, I'd put a number of things in place and started to have a positive mindset moving forward. And that couldn't have been helped on unless we did have lockdown and the pandemic. So that was an opportunity in itself for me, and basically to improve on having this positive mindset going into my day, so that I can look at opportunities in a whole new different light. And and basically more and more doors started to open then, just from having this positive mindset. So I think opportunities during the pandemic would have been, I reevaluated where my business was, where it needed to go, started to put some objectives in place and some clear goals. And through doing that, we then started to drive forward and open doors for ourselves to create opportunity with our business. So we started to build packages that we wouldn't have had the time to do prior to that. We started to build up connections through a range of different platforms. There's a great sort of business network now, Northern Ireland Business, on Facebook. We basically signed up to some virtual networking events online, and we started to create new avenues for who we work with, and who we promote our products to. So that was a fantastic opportunity on a business level. But then it allowed me to look at some of the things that were really important to me, which also led on to some personal opportunities which were about things that I was passionate about. So as I touched on at the very start of the conversation, I developed a podcast called the Mind Podcast, which was really just a passion project that I had been thinking about for ages, had wanted to do, but just sort of never had the time or never had the drive to push it forward. And then everything came along with the lockdown, and we had a bit more time on our hands, and I ran out of excuses, really. That's how I started the podcast. I ran out of excuses, and I just drove forward with developing the podcast, reaching out and inviting guests on, and just making it happen. I started off just recording it on Zoom, and then as the episodes progressed, I bought some equipment. I really wanted to improve them, and I wanted to make it more professional, and it's now opened the door for me, which I never could have envisioned, to now progress the podcast into a project, which we are being funded by Coca-Cola, the Thank You Fund. So it's Coca-Cola Ireland, and they're funding that project, which is due to start now at the start of February. And I would never have had that opportunity if it hadn't have been for lockdown, to try and adapt things that I knew that I was good at and passionate about, and develop them into, to start off with, just a podcast around mental health, and now into a project that's geared around 16 to 25-year-olds, to empower them to use digital technologies to upskill and also to express themselves in an environment with like-minded people. So yeah, that's the opportunity that spawned from the pandemic and lockdown.
Why do you think that some people have more opportunities than others? Is it just purely luck?
Well, no, I'm not a believer in opportunities just happen because of luck. I believe that you go out and make it for yourself, and it's about how hard you work at creating those opportunities for yourselves, how passionate you are, how many people you connect with, and obviously going out there with a positive mindset. I strongly believe that people that go out with a positive mindset have far more opportunity than those that go out with a negative mindset. If you think about it, you get up and go to a job that you hate, it's going to be tunnel vision. You're getting up, you're getting into your car, you're driving to work, you're sitting at your desk, you're thinking negatively about the emails that you're opening. You're thinking negatively about the people that are sitting in the office around you. So you're going to have a negative outlook on your own personal life and everything surrounding you. So there's going to be limited opportunities for you, positive ones anyway, that will crop up because of the way that you're thinking, the way that your mind is, the way that you're sort of looking into yourself. So I really do believe that those who sort of work on themselves as individuals will create more opportunities for themselves by giving them the best foot forward. And that's really down to implementing a number of different things, which we're sort of now going to explore in a bit more detail.
Yeah, tell me about some of the tools that you have and some of the things that you've implemented in your life, some of the things that you've come up with. Tell us a little bit more about some of those things in a more practical way about embracing these opportunities.
Yeah, of course, Ben. So over the last number of months, during speaking to some of my guests on the podcast, I've really implemented different things into my life that I feel will be beneficial, and setting myself up for obviously the best possible day that I can have, plus that positive mindset. So I started journaling a couple of months ago, and basically what that does is it allows me to see what I'm thankful for, my gratitude, all the things that I'm actually doing in my life, because sometimes we neglect to think about that. We just do things for the sake of doing them, and we don't actually look back and go, hold on a second, look what you've achieved here, look what you've done in this last number of months. And until I started to write things down, I couldn't really visualize them. So it's been a great way for me to start visualizing what I have done, what I have achieved, but what I am still yet to achieve and what I want to achieve. And that all sort of connects nicely with creating opportunities for yourself as an individual.
Yeah. Brilliant. And in terms of your daily routine, is it something that you set in stone, or is it something that you take each day as it comes, or what? Talk us through that.
Yeah, no problem. There's a couple of things that I do sort of every morning that will be set in stone as such, but I'm completely adaptable. I'm still trying new things and implementing them as the weeks go on. But what I'll do is I'll sort of try and get up as early as I possibly can. This morning I had a network meeting, so I was up at 6:30. Get up, obviously get a litre of water in me. I know a lot of people say room temperature, but no, I still just drink it straight from the tap, whether it's freezing cold or not. But I'll sort of get the organs flowing.
I'm a big fan of
which
ice.
Will be,
I love ice.
Yeah,
ice and
too
everything.
right.
I actually have an ice machine in my house purely so that I can drink iced drinks. How's about that?
Serious? I must look into one of them. But mind you, it's been cold enough. The pipes have been freezing down here in Korean. But yes, so I'll do that, and then I'll obviously get myself a coffee. Then that'll lead on to me maybe reading for a while. I'll spend at least half an hour. If I have an hour to spare, I'll spend an hour either reading first and foremost, or I'll take my dog Buddy for a walk to sort of really get out to the outdoors and really set myself up, get some sunlight into me, and to really appreciate my surroundings. So that's sort of the morning, which will then lead on into what I've got planned work-wise, whether it's work or whether it's spending time with the kids over the weekend, family. I would sort of have that structure in place in the morning. Um, Mind you, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've been sort of struggling to get up really, really early, which I was quite disappointed in myself. You know, I'd sort of set 6:30 in my head. Some days it's 7, some days it's even as late as 8. But I really don't think it matters what time you get up, in a sense, as long as you get into the rhythm, get into what it is that you need to do, and obviously still follow through with those things that you set in place. Yeah. Obviously, I'll touch on it at the very end, but I've been reading this book which has been really valuable about the snooze button and the effects it has on your brain, not only your brain, but your sort of sleep pattern, and the effects it'll have on your day as a whole. So I've completely, basically what I do now is charge the phone outside of the room so that I physically have to get up out of my bed to go and get the phone to switch the alarm off. Bingo, I'm up. So there's no excuses then. Whereas maybe, you know, a year ago I would have been hitting the snooze button. I would have felt really grim all day. I wouldn't have been as productive. So that's been great in the morning routine side of things. As for an evening routine, I'm still really developing it, and I'm reading things, I'm looking into things, the best measures. But one thing that I will do every single evening is ensure that I switch my phone off. I normally do that between 8 and half 8, and charge it switched off outside of the room, so that the only thing that will wake me the following morning is the alarm to go and get it. And then just before sleep, I'll always read a book. I won't watch any TV, so it's always reading. And that's basically it. And I'm still going to change and adapt things as I go along.
And have you found that is something that has improved you as an individual in a way that you know, like a tangible way? Is that something that you can actually see an improvement on you?
Definitely. I mean, I really utilise my time now effectively, which beforehand everything would have been sort of stressy. I would have been quite anxious about things, and yeah, it would have just had a knock-on effect my whole day. You know, rushing to get up, rushing to get dressed, not eating breakfast, getting in the van, driving down to Belfast. You know, I would have had a negative outlook on basically the whole day. Coming home, reading emails, going on Zoom calls, getting to bed really late, and then it just turned into a vicious circle. Whereas now, I switch off. Like I basically put myself as the priority and my family. So, you know, I switch off at a certain time, and work just does not happen after a certain time. And I feel that's completely valuable to me now. And looking back on the way I used to be and the way that I've sort of improved things now, it's completely transformed me as an individual.
Amazing. The sort of the thing that jumps out to me, I've got into a bad habit in the morning, and I think it's probably because so much of our lives right now is digital and app based and phone based and all the rest of it, that you wake up in the morning and the first thing that you do is grab your phone while you're still lying in bed. You get drawn in by whatever notifications that you have, whatever emails you have. Then it's on to Facebook, then it's on to TikTok, then it's on to, and suddenly it's been an hour and a half. And the only thing that gets you out of bed is your need to go to the toilet, you know. And half, as you say, half the day is wasted. Over the weekend, which I have a little bit more space and time, I went and jumped in the sea, you know, at silly o'clock. I got up early enough on Saturday to watch the dawn, which was a rare occasion for me. You know, I was down near Tracy Track and had a look at the moorings from in the snow. And just wee things like that, just to remind you that, you know, there is so much more to a day if you get up at a reasonable hour, and you can fit so much more in and still have the downtime, you know, still have the time at the end of the day to enjoy yourself. We're coming close to the end of our time together, and you've been so good. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about before we wrap things up?
Yeah, it was just to share something with you that I found really positive for me, even in helping me on my journey. I would have been one of these people who absolutely hated the mornings, hated getting up, would have had any excuse to just stay under the covers, stay warm. And now the mornings are probably the most productive that they've ever been for me, and I really see value in that. So I've been reading a book by Mel Robbins called The 5 Second Rule. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but
No,
basically
tell me.
she coined this 5 second rule, and it was because she was at a really low point in her life. She was drinking too much. She was hitting the snooze button every morning. Her marriage was failing. She was, I believe, made redundant. And she was sitting one night, I believe, having a drink, and she seen this rocket launch, and in her head it stuck the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, and after one came the launch of the rocket. And she says, I'm going to try this tomorrow. I'm going to try counting down from 5, and I'm going to launch myself out of bed. So she counted back from 5 to 1, and lo and behold, she launched herself out of bed like that rocket she had seen the night before. And basically what that did is it basically tricked her brain into not talking her out of getting out of bed. So she tried it in a number of different ways, not just getting out of bed, but say she was feeling as though she was about to get in an argument with her husband, for instance. She would count down from 5, and then she would take action after she got to 1. So it's all about that action point where you're actually moving from counting down from your brain, and you're moving away from those negative thoughts. You're moving away from hitting that snooze button. You're moving away from saying no to something that you really want to do. Or say, for example, you're in a business meeting and you have a great idea and you want to speak up but you're too nervous. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, say it. And it's really about holding yourself accountable for things that you try to talk yourself out of all the time. I know you spoke with the great Sophie Irwin on one of your talks.
We did
a couple of weeks ago, and Sophie has now started to develop things where it's about getting outside. We try to talk ourselves out. If it's raining, we will say, oh, I can't go outside, it's going to be too cold or wet. So she says, it's grand when you're out there because you've got your coat on, you've got your scarf on, you've got your gloves on, and it's about, even trying that 5 second rule to get you out the door, taking that action to go, okay, the hardest part of this walk is going to be physically getting from where I am now out the door and just, getting to that point. So yeah, I've taken a lot of value from Mel Robbins and her 5 second rule.
Brill, we'll definitely put the link for that book in the comments underneath, and you can have a little look on that. We'll also put links to the Northern Lights event hire where Darran works, and also to the Mind Project as well, and you can check out all of those and follow along on social media. Darran, it's been an absolute pleasure. We have one more thing to ask of you before you leave, and I deliberately don't tell our guests this in advance.
Okay.
For anyone that is completely bored of the first 15 minutes of this video, we like to make sure that there is something in there for them as well, okay? So what I'm going to do is give you 7 quick-fire questions, and you're going to give me a really one-word answer.
Okay, right? Perfect.
And it's all about quick recommendations for other things to do over lockdown, all right? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so our first one is, who is the best new musical artist or the best album you're listening to right now?
Oh, good one. I'm going to say JC Stewart.
Best Netflix show or thing that you're binging?
Probably, I'm watching The Crown at the minute. I'm really enjoying it, surprisingly.
Okay. Podcast? You can plug your own if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Mind Podcast, Mental Health in a New Direction. Check it out.
Brilliant. Some sort of weird new skill you've developed over lockdown?
Yes, it's my sort of gratitude to the great outdoors. I absolutely love it. You can't keep me inside anymore. I'm walking maybe 2-3 times a day and just exploring places that I've never explored before. So walking.
Follows us on perfectly to the next one. I believe you're in Coleraine. What's the best walk near you?
Okay, and this is my favourite walk. So if you know where Ulster University is in Coleraine, there is a fantastic walk. Again, Sophie Irwin introduced me to this walk over Halloween for the kids because they did a Halloween trail. But if you drive into the university, there's a forest and there's a trail which is well signposted, and it goes the whole way around the sort of perimeter of the university. It is phenomenal. If you've never done it, please do it.
Okay, and finally, however silly it may be, something that you use to cure boredom.
Whew, good one. Yeah, let me see. I will.
The last person said interior design app.
Interior design app. Whew. I will. This is going to sound really strange, but the cure boredom for me, I clean. So whether it's doing all the dishes downstairs or rejigging my wardrobe and hanging stuff on hangers, that's how I kill boredom.
First lockdown, I polished a toaster. Took about an hour and a half. So it probably needs done again, to be honest.
You've been eating that many toasties.
Guys, that's us for today. Thank you so much to Darran. We'll put all those links into the bio and on the comments section as well. And we'll see you again next time. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks Ben. Bye-bye.